Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to The Inner Voice with Dr. Foojan Zeine, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Inner Voice Show. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine. So glad to be with all of you this week again. This show is about all that matters to you in your world. Every way that we think about, feel, act, the way that we're responsible about ourselves and the world, about this beautiful journey of life, the way we are together with it or alone in our head with it. So I speak and talk and interview with experts in their field. And today I'm so excited to have Sampson McCormick, an experienced and a down-to-earth comedic force of nature with me. And but before that, I also bring you the latest research. So we'll be right back with the latest research from University of Santa Barbara, California in Santa Barbara, about the value of pride. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have an amazing show. We'll be right back.
Dr. Foojan Zeine is a psychotherapist, a marriage and family therapist, and a life coach with more than 27 years of experience. She is the author of the Awareness Integration Model, which has been researched and published in numerous international journals. Dr. Foojan has offices in Beverly Hills, Irvine, and Woodland Hills, California, and also consults online and by telephone. Make an appointment with her today by calling 818-648-2140 or go online to www.foojan.com. That's www.foojan.com.
The value of pride. The intensity of pride people feel for a given act or trait is set by an implicit mental map of what others value, according to this new research done on August 6th in University of California, Santa Barbara. Now, as a personality characteristics, pride gets a pretty bad rap, counted among the 7 deadly sins, right up there with greed, lust, and envy. It is considered by some to be the worst of it all, and still others hold pride as the motivating factor behind all great mistakes. Is it really that bad? Maybe not, says the research team at the University of Montreal and the UC Santa Barbara Center for Evolutionary Psychology. Pride, they argue, was built into human nature by evolution because it served an important function for our 4 aging ancestors. Our ancestors, they explain, lived in a small, highly independent bands and faced frequently life-threatening reversals. Now, they needed their fellow band members to value them enough during bad times to pull them through. Therefore, that would be helpful, right? Therefore, in making choices, humans had to weigh their own individual self-interest against winning the approval of others, so that when they needed help, others would value them enough to give it to them. That makes sense. The researchers finding that the human universal emotion of pride is one evolved solution to this problem are highlighted in the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. What was the purpose of the evolutionary concept of pride? The researchers say that people evolved to have a selfish streak. We know that. But they also needed a contrary pull toward acts that would make others value them in the world without the soup kitchens or police or hospitals or insurance and all those other pieces. The feeling of pride is an internal reward that draws us toward such an act. For this to work well, people can't just stumble about discovering after the fact what brings approval. That's too late. In making choices among alternatives, our motivational system needed to be implicitly estimate in advance the amount of approval each alternate act would trigger in the minds of others. That's cool. A person who did only what others wanted would be selected against, but a person who was purely selfish would be shunned rapidly, another dead end. So this leads to a precious quantitative prediction. Lots of research has shown that humans can anticipate personal rewards and costs accurately, like lost time or food. They predicted that the specific intensity of the pride a person would anticipate feeling for taking an action would track how much others in their local world would actually value that specific act. The theory we're evaluating is that the intensity of pride you feel when you consider whether to take a potential action is not just a feeling and a motivator. It is also carries useful information to seduce you to make choices that balance both the personal costs and benefits and the social costs and benefits. Universal human quality as a neural system, pride inclines you to factor in others' regard alongside private benefits, so the act associated with the highest total payoff is selected. One implication of this theory is that those around you benefit too as a side effect of your pursuing actions they value. Thus, pride is more of a win-win situation than actually a sin. What do you think of that? Now, let's talk about our pride with Simpson when we come back. Okay, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at Foojan.com or Amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it.
Were you recently injured in a car accident? Then you need the law offices of Aria Thadakar for your free case evaluation. Don't let the medical bills pile up, and don't let the insurance companies try to settle your claim for a few $100s. Call 714-464-3246. The law offices of Aria Thadakar serves all of California. If they don't win, you don't pay. So call now, 714-464-3246. This is a paid-for attorney advertisement by the law offices of Aria Thadakar of Orange, California.
So welcome back to Inner Voice Show. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and I'm so excited to have Sampson McCormick with me. He's an experienced and a down-to-earth comedic force of nature and has been one of the most sought-after voice of diversity in comedy for close to 2 decades. He's appeared in BET, Viceland, TV One, and co-starred in the 2017 Oscar-nominated film I Live Here. His comedy offers riveting and fresh takes on race, religion, politics, and sexuality. You know, all those things that you're not supposed to be talking in a polite company. Well, thank God I'm not a polite company. So guess what? We're going to talk about it all today with all of you. Welcome, Sampson.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Let's talk about it. I just have to say, this is the smoothest and sexiest show I've been on in a long time.
Really?
Yes, you just,
I like it. I like it.
Your voice is just so relaxing.
Oh, so sweet of you. Thank you.
You know, I'm one of them neo soul brothers. You know, I like to burn incense and listen to Erykah Badu and all that stuff. So, you know,
that's awesome.
I'm here. I'm just like, yes, You know, like you go to yoga and they're like,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
You are working it, Miss Lady.
Yay! I'm so happy that you were able to come to the studio. It just has a different feel when you're in a studio versus, my guest being on the phone.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
cool.
I had to come see your beautiful face
Thank
and let you see
you.
mine.
Well, I saw you at one of your performances, and I really liked not only the performance, but the content, everything that you talked about the transparency of who you were, your experiences, and how that came about, and you're expressing it in your comedy, and real issues that all of us go through one way or another. So it was awesome that you accepted my invitation to come to the show. So tell us about you.
Well, for those of y'all who can't see me right now, who haven't pulled me up online yet, I'm one of the most beautiful people you'll ever see in your life.
He is right. That's accurate.
Inside and out, I strive to be as beautiful as possible, and that's really one of the things that really drew me to you. Was you really have, just listening to you now and just the things that you focus on, because and I'm going to get to me in a second, but I really do make it a point to just focus on us loving each other. Mm-hmm. And I tell people all the time, I say I'm a black gay man. Mm-hmm. And people now, you talk about issues that you face as a black person, and they go, so what, get over it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, not so what, get over it. This is my life. This is what I experience. I'm also a gay man. I'm like, Lord, when you made me, what were you doing? And I really had to get to the point where I own everything that I am, because we all, whoever we are, we're beautiful. And I think that we need to own that, and I believe if we were able to really own that and show up as who we are, I believe we will be able to treat each other better.
Sampson, say, what do you mean by own that?
Own it. It's well, and I'm saying this specifically for minorities in America.
Yeah.
If you are not a straight white man, you got some owning up to do. It's, if you're a woman and you still, I think it's 60-something cent on the dollar, you got some owning up to do. If you are a black man in America and you have anxiety attacks when a cop car pulls up behind you and you're just leaving the grocery store, you got some owning up to do. Mm-hmm. And that means showing up unabashedly about who you are and letting people know what your experience is. And we live in a world that tells us, be quiet. Mm-hmm. And it's, I don't like to open this can of worms, but
go ahead.
If you look at the news right now, we see what our political climate is. Yeah. We see what our social climate is. And I believe if we really get back to saying, hey folks, and I like to call the people that I interact with in my neighborhood or that I just, meet as I pass day to day, they're my brothers and sisters. I don't care what color you are. Mm-hmm. I don't care how you love or, how you vote. Some people, you might need to strangle. It's okay to want to strangle one of your brothers. But, you have to say, hey, this is what's going on. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. And I believe we get back to just talking because and I love this. This is a talk show. Mm-hmm. Me and you are right here looking at each other eye to eye. Mm-hmm. We look at each other eye to eye, y'all. Like we're looking, if I feel like we're on a date a little bit. We're looking at each other eye to eye. And we don't do that anymore as a society.
Very true. Everybody sits together, but they're on their phone.
On their phones. And you remember, like, when I was growing up, you had to be off the phone. As a matter of fact, you remember the cord with the curly cord? Yeah. We had the curly cord growing up. And, that couldn't reach the table at dinner time.
True.
You better not be on the phone at dinner time. Yeah. And we've lost the intimacy, I think, as human beings, to really sit down. Because you remember in the 90s, we were doing it.
Yeah.
In the 80s, we were doing it. Yeah. And somewhere as we got more social media, technologically advanced, now you can just tweet somebody an insult, and if you don't like what they say, you block them. End the conversation. True. Whereas if you had a neighbor that lived next door to you, you had to see that person every day, and y'all learn how to celebrate differences and live together.
It's funny about that because I get to be with 80-year-old aunt who is in Iran. And every picture I put up, or, she comes on with FaceTime with me or Skype. And the technology allows me now to be in her world where, I've been here since I was 12. I got here, it was 1976. So I get to be with her almost every day because of the technology. So it brought it brought a different level of togetherness to be with each other. But I agree with you that it took away the intimacy. So now we have access to a lot of people, but not intimate.
Not intimacy.
Yeah. Not close, not connected.
Not close. And I mean, it's, first of all, I'm impressed that she's 80 years old and knows how to use FaceTime. You tell her I said she better get it. Because, shoot, I'm 33 and I still don't know how to use my doggone phone. So I'm impressed. You tell her to give me a lesson, okay? Yes. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, that's one of the good things is you say she's in Iran.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's one of the good things because, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can't be jumping on an airplane every other week to go see, Auntie. And so that's a good thing that's come out of it. But I mean, really, just us. I mean, it's like, and I guess they call me a millennial. I don't like that word.
Why not?
Well, it sounds like a flower. Like, look at those millennials. I want to get some millennials and plant them in my front yard, put them next to the dandelions. And we have a lot of negative stigmas attached to millennial living. It's a lot of people say that we're rude. A lot of people say that we're, disrespectful.
Like, and you want it now.
Not all of us. Yeah. I was raised, and at first when I was growing up, I thought it sucked. But my mother made me work for everything I got, and I'm still working for everything that I want.
Now
and
you thank her, right?
Oh, I thank her. Yeah, and my teacher, my theater teacher, Carol Foster, because I could make myself cry on command and stuff like that. And she would tell me, "Oh, what was that crap?" And she made me really upset one class, and I cussed her out. Oh, I called her a lot of bad names. And she said, "That was the best monologue I've ever seen you do."
Oh, that was real.
Oh, that was real, but she hurt my feelings. But I mean, people don't understand, like, some of the people who are saying this stuff about millennials, they're the ones who raised us.
True.
So what type of job did you do?
Well, we didn't want to raise you to be somebody else, dude. We just wanted you to be a clone of us.
Right.
Isn't that all the parents want?
A lot of times, yeah. But I mean, I was raised by some amazing people. I was brought up and taught by some amazing people. And it just really bothers me. And I mean, if you look at our economy, if you look at jobs, if you look at a lot of different things, a lot of us are making a way out of no way. And I saw a meme online. And so for people online who don't know what a meme is, a meme is like, it's a millennial term. Mm-hmm. See, I'm here to educate folks.
Thank you.
The memes they're like these little pictures, and you put them up on the internet, and they're very expressive. Mm-hmm. They basically say things that everybody's thinking. You can pass them around. Right. And there was a meme that said, "These can't be the same bills that our parents paid." Yeah. And they aren't. I mean, you got 8 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and we got to do something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really concerns me. So for people to say millennials suck, we don't suck. We're out here working hard.
There was research that was done that said that millennials don't look at the world and the future the same way as their parents did. Part of it was because for us, as we were, and I'm 57, so I'm saying us. I would assume the parents of the millennials. We had a path. Like, you went to school, then you did these jobs, and then you grew in the job, and then you created pension plans, and then you bought the house with the picket fence, and that was your path. And everybody knew that if you just follow this path, you'd make it. That's not the same case.
That ain't working in 2018.
Not really. So this group is like, forget it. They're just picking up and going around the world and learning through experience and coming back and yes, going to college and doing their experiences. Half of them are not going through the corporate world. They're just experiencing different types of jobs, which is getting created by apps. So they're much more experiential than follow the path.
Yes. Well, I know because before I moved to LA, I was living up in Oakland. Mm-hmm. And the San Francisco Bay Area, that's where all the techies are. Like, because we used to see them, like, they throw them up in a Google van without windows in it. They don't know where they're going. And they throw them up in the back of a Google van, and they take them over, I think over to San Francisco somewhere. And they provide child care. They give them little rooms. And they're there 18, 19, 20 hours a day.
Wow.
So I had a couple of neighbors they worked for Google. Mm-hmm. So they would never knock on the door. They would always send like Google Hangout messages. They were crazy. And, I mean, but so you have those. So you have people who are either doing that, and I also know that a lot of people now are kind of just jumping out there doing their own thing.
Yeah.
You know, a lot more people are doing what I guess the simpler term would be freelance work.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I've always thought if you're gonna be broke, because there's a lot of people who are working 2 jobs now and they still don't got money.
Right.
To go get them a pint of ice cream on Friday night. Why not be broke doing something you want to love, that you want to do?
Exactly. Enjoy.
And
feel proud about
feel
it.
proud of. I mean, I sell weed, and I'm just playing. I'm playing. No, I don't. I don't sell weed. But I mean, that's a profession now.
Yeah.
Dispensaries and all sorts of things.
It's a huge, especially starting in California. So there's a lot of freelance there. There used to be there also, but it's just now getting regulated. So people are waiting for that, for them, to be amazing business. I think Colorado and Oregon already have it for many years.
Yeah,
and
I think Tacoma too. I was just up in the Pacific Northwest, Tacoma, Seattle.
Seattle does it, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, people out here, people are doing whatever they can now to make a dollar.
Well, it's much more of a connection of people to people, such as for the first time these past 10 years, you have drivers who are from, whether it's from Uber or Lyft, and they might be working part-time or whenever they want to, or even make it a full-time. There's so many apps that you can just become a personal assistant to someone or take them food or, connect. Nurses who are getting hired by people who they go to their home through these apps. So
well, that's scary to me. Now that is scary to me. Yeah, because I watch a lot of First 48 and stuff like that. I'm like, who is this showing up to the door? Yeah, but I mean that's the world we live in now. Yeah. And
but I'm excited about it, Sampson. Though
I don't know. Like I watch a lot of them shows, and like
stop watching those shows, dude.
I can't help it. It's my guilty pleasure, and I had the nerve to watch iRobot one night, and that's all about robots taking over. I'm scared.
One of the things that I noticed, and I want your opinion about it, is that we keep getting more and more afraid, and then keep getting more and more angry. And then I keep looking at the shows, which starts about 7 o'clock, or I say 7:30 and 8. It's all violence. It's all fear-based, all the way to the local news ends, and then you have about 11:30 where we're supposed to listen to the news in a comedy act, which is like, oh God, thank you.
Yes,
at least we can create some. Yeah, but right when we come back from work, when you watch TV, it's all fear and crime and violence. So I'm like, oh, okay, so we come home to this.
That's what we're addicted to. That's what we love it. It's, if you look at, because there was a time where if you were out and you saw somebody fighting on the street, you would break it up. There was, and I'm guilty of it. Well, not breaking up fights, because I try to. I'm
guilty of creating them or breaking them up.
I start fight. No, I don't start fights. I'm guilty of hanging out on Twitter, looking at these crazy videos. Like I follow some different accounts, and they just show you wild stuff that's going on in the world. And we've really, I think, grown accustomed to violence. I believe that we now live in a climate, especially with technology, where we've developed an appetite for it. We need our fix. It's kind of like sugar, being addicted to sugar almost, except for you need violence. So you got to see somebody, knock somebody upside the head or something like that. And I personally, I do, that is one of my guilty pleasures every now and then. But after looking at that for about 5 minutes, I have to go look at something else.
Yeah, you're done.
I stick to cartoons.
Yeah, it's like you've got enough chemicals from inside of you shooting up inside, which is like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done. And even the cartoons are crazy now, because now, a nipple might pop out or something, and that's just on Nickelodeon. So you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was watching one of the YouTube channels for children, and then suddenly they had put in different types of violent ones and snuck them in. So it would start with like Mickey Mouse or that, and then suddenly Mickey Mouse got a gun and shooting somebody. And I was freaking out, Sampson. I'm like, you can't even trust the kids to go watching the kid channel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you go back and you look at some of these, because I mean, I grew up in the 80s. So I grew up on Alf. I grew up on Kermit the Frog. You remember Kermit? Kermit, Miss Piggy?
Yeah.
And now, if you get on Instagram, Kermit the Frog. Okay, so first of all, to keep y'all updated for folks that don't know, Kermit and Miss Piggy are divorced.
Oh, okay.
Piggy is seeing the dog that used to play the piano. They got a thing going on now.
Oh, that's interesting.
Nothing serious. They just mess around. Yeah, it's deep.
So this is the way to get kids ready for blended families and divorce?
I don't know what it's getting them ready for. It's making my head hurt. Like I'm heartbroken that Piggy and Kermit broke up. I'm like,
sorry.
y'all need. I was sending tweets.
I think you're traumatized.
I'm very traumatized.
Yeah, I got to give you therapy for trauma because of that.
Just give me some. Give me one of them pills. Give me a Vicodin or something.
Vicodin. Sorry.
I need something strong.
So let's talk about the abuse that happens around the world right now with all of that, and then leading to the opiate epidemic. Starts with just giving too much of these things to people when it's not even needed.
You know what? We live in a world now where, and I sit back and I just look at it. I just observe. We really do live in a world where everybody is. And when I first moved, I had a lot of anxiety when I first came to LA. Well, that really happens whenever I first move anywhere. You know, I came originally. I'm from DC. Then I moved to the Bay Area. I was there for 6 years before my ex dumped me. I'm not mad.
We can tell.
And then I moved to LA, and it's just you become accustomed to a different environment. And my thing is, I'm not really a religious person, but I pray. I pray. I believe that there's something out there, and everybody doesn't believe, and that's all right.
It doesn't hurt.
But you have to something. Some people, they need them a candy bar or whatever. For me, I feel like that was that. I was hiking. I was, just positive affirmations, whatever I had to do. But that's not enough for some people.
I have my own personal delusions that work for me. I love it.
Yeah,
I'll keep it.
Yeah, some people. I used to go home and I would drink a bottle of wine, and not a glass, a bottle.
Oh.
It's not hard to do if you sit near the table and you pour 3 glasses. Bam, there you go.
Right.
And
how did that work for you?
Oh, it was fabulous.
Was it?
I've
long as it lasted.
Never felt sexier in my life. And
as long as it lasted.
Oh, yes.
Did it turn into depression at one point?
It never turned into depression. I mean, if you're floating around in your house and you realize that you're dancing around with a broomstick, you're like, okay, I need a person in here with me. But sometimes all you really need is just yourself. And if you can make you happy first, that's all you need.
True.
And it really took me, because I've been a type. I've always needed a man. I've always needed to have a partner. And now that my ex, when he left me, and dating now is not what it was when I was first growing up, getting into the dating world. I mean, you got Tinder and this and that, and I miss good old fashioned meet them down at the grocery store.
Right. That can still be possible.
I watched First 48. I don't trust them people no more. And the apps are worse.
We have a problem here, Sampson, because you want something and then you watch these shows and then scare yourself out.
Oh, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Watch this. So if you're listening, if you think that you're a gorgeous man and you were like, and I'm a nice hue of brown, ain't I, doctor?
You are.
And you like nice chocolate man.
And where do they find you, nice chocolate man?
You can find
SampsonMcCormick.com.
I love how you're trying to pimp me out right now.
I'm not. You're trying to pimp yourself up, and I'm trying to find them to find you.
Okay, so yes, I should
not
share
just that, but also you're a comedy act and where you are and where you perform. And, beside dating you, I think they can also be your friend and they can come and see you and do all of that.
Well, and we really do. We need to get to some of those things, too. So you can connect with me on SampsonComedy.com, SampsonComedy.com. I'm also on Instagram, Sampson McCormick, SampsonMcCormick. I have a dating profile on Christian Mingle. No, I'm just playing. I'm not on Christian Mingle. I'm not on Christian Mingle.
And your Twitter at Official Sampson.
Official Sampson on Twitter.
Official Sampson on Twitter. So, yeah, that's how they can find you. I'm still in the original conversation that we started, and we got more time to go. Good. talked about owning it.
Yes.
And I said, explain to me what owning it means. And you began that conversation, and then we went other places. And I wanted to come back and say, and I know we talked about minorities, but what if I say every single human being needs to own it, wherever they are, however they are? Some people have it better than others. Some people have it worse than others. Some people, depending on what country you live in, could be worse or better. And in times, depending on what times and where you are. But when you say about owning it, and you, as I heard you said, first find who you are and what makes you happy. And what makes you happy, be clear and real about it to the world. Be authentic about it. And then experience the world as is and own who you are in the world and who the world is for you. Is that what I got?
Yes. And a part of it, okay, so for instance, I used to wear, which I need to get another one. It actually faded. I used to wear a shirt that said, I love being black, right? I used to have a lot of white people who would stop me or tweet me, and they would say, why do you have to wear a shirt that says that? And I always thought that the fact that people had to stop and ask me, why are you wearing a shirt that says I love being black, clearly stated that there's a problem. We live in a world where, as people of color, we are stigmatized. You know, it's some people, I walk into a store, they don't know what I do for a living. They don't know I can walk in there and I can buy anything that I want.
Right.
But a lot of times when you walk into a store, and I've seen this, you walk into a store and you don't get the same level of customer service that another person gets. So you walk in, and I might go in right behind or in front of, say for instance, 2 white women. Those white women will get better customer service than me. And if I stay on an aisle or something for too long, then all of a sudden I become visible. You know, like, what do you want? Whereas when I first walk into that store, I want the, hey, how are you? Thank you for coming in, like everybody else gets. But you don't get that. When I get pulled over by a police officer, I don't want to have to fear for my life.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality. And I've been in cars with, and I have white friends, and we have open discussions. And when I say own it, I mean being able to have honest conversations. Looking at you, doctor, and saying, well, what is your experience like as you move through the world? And being able to listen to you honestly, with compassion, and having you do the same thing for me, and not go, are you sure?
Right.
You shouldn't have to ask me. I believe there are 2 or 3 million black people in this country. And I'm not just black, I'm also gay. You know, and so when you ask a black person, you shouldn't say, are you sure? This is a collective experience. And if it is a collective, you don't get 2 or 3 million people saying the same thing.
Right.
And it just be paranoia.
I think that you're very accurate about parts of our experience being collective and parts of it being still individualized within the collective. And I agree with you that to be open to know each other as human beings who are different and be curious, be interested, and know anybody else's experience.
Yeah, and not just listening to somebody and going, oh, this person is angry and this and that, because, I mean, I do humor for a living.
Sure.
I also believe we need to get back to being able to laugh about it. Like, for instance, I was at
the world is really not funny if you don't laugh about it.
Oh, no. I mean, it's
so
funny.
Thank you for all of you guys who created to be funny.
You know, I don't think people really appreciate comedy the way that they should.
Yeah, I do.
You know, well, that's because you're a smart person.
Thank you.
Okay. But there are a lot of people who really don't understand it, and we live in a very politically, I'm putting my air fingers up, politically correct society where it's like, oh, well, don't say that because you're going to offend somebody. And this is the same stuff where if you go home and you say it and there's a tape recorder some weird way in your house, you're still going to get in trouble. So why not say it out loud so everybody can hear it, and let's have a human dialogue? That's the only way we get over stuff. That's the only way we learn how to deal with things. And obviously that's not working because we have a president who was recorded saying grab women by their private parts, and he still got in the White House. So being politically correct isn't protecting anybody because we're all in trouble now.
Well, now it's the face of not being politically correct because everybody's going around in the media, and beside the Twitter, they're going around the media and putting up YouTubes and cussing at each other. You know, entertainers cussing at the president and everybody, and them cussing back. And now I think politically correct was really in around the 2000s, and then for some reason this past 4 or 5 years, politically correct has gone out the window.
I don't think it's been the last 4 or 5 years. Well, it depends on how you look at it and how you define it. I think that there are still things that people do. I mean, obviously being a blatant racist is not cool.
Right.
But I believe
that has been out on the media a lot.
Oh, it's been out on the media a lot. I don't think it's really made a difference.
Oh, it has. I remember that for the first time, I've lived here since I was 12, and let me tell you, I think it was about 6 months ago, which I was flying in from San Francisco to LA. And this is the first time I've ever experienced this, where I think they were a Chinese family. There was like 5 Chinese people who were the same family were in front of us. And this white gentleman who was sitting beside me. And I'm not saying this because whether it was white or I'm just explaining the conversation.
We know that white men are problematic, but go ahead.
Yeah. So then the Chinese family obviously were speaking their language. They were going back and all of that. So he starts growling right beside me, and I'm reading my book, and he starts growling.
Like,
and I'm like, yeah. I said, what is he going to do if I tell him I'm actually originally from Iran? I don't even know. He's going to probably yell and scream and terrorism, and walk out. So he starts growling, and I'm like, okay. So a couple of times he just said, shut up. And they're not listening to him. They don't even know who he's talking to. So I keep looking at him, and I get it that he's talking to this family who's very loud, which is, they're speaking their own language. So as the plane lands, and we're all getting up to get our suitcases and leave, he gets up, kind of holds me back because he wants to go forward, takes his suitcase and says a couple for profanity to all of them, and walks in front of them. And they're all looking at me shocked because he was right beside me. So they're looking at me like, what just happened?
I would have immediately been like, I am not with him, okay?
No, definitely I wasn't with him. But I just said, obviously he, has his own sensitivities. I mean, that's all that I could come up with. Obviously, the dude has his own sensitivities.
Sensitivity. Because if it was sensitivity, he would have had some understanding for those people. I mean, everybody is not the same. Everybody's not, walking around with a stick up their behind.
But my point is the allowance of this type of conversation that is going with, the government or the people or the media or whatever in a serious way, and not just, if we hear it in the movies and it's not a serious conversation. But because we're hearing all of this in a serious conversation and being allowed, then you see people who have that prejudice streak to them suddenly getting the allowance to act it out actually in the world, where before, even if they had it inside, they kept it quiet. They might have, acted in a different way, but at least it wouldn't be out.
I don't believe we ever stopped because, I mean, if you look at the Obama years, they were still calling First Lady Obama apes and heels.
Nasty.
They were still, they tried to block that man for all 8 years from doing everything that he was trying to do. And you have somebody who is in cahoots with Russia. We're not calling him out on that in the way that we should be. If Obama would have done it, they'd have had him out of there. They fought President Obama more over health care than they are with this man who's dividing this country, tearing this country apart, and it's a real problem. And I mean, he's been very disrespectful to Representative Maxine Waters. He's who's up at 3 o'clock in the morning tweeting.
He is
a crazy person.
He is. He's that's what he does. Yeah.
And it's and we're acting like it's normal.
I think that the part that you were talking about when I talked about the violence on TV show, and you said, we watch it so much from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and then in the news also, that's all we hear about, that it has become accustomed to it, and it becomes normal. So,
it's normal. Yeah. And even if you look at this person that's in the White House,
it becomes normal.
That's why it's so normal, because we live in a, social media generation. As stupid as that man is, he's brilliant. Mm-hmm. He knows how to control media. He's great at social media. A lot of people think it's cool, because, I need somebody who's going to tell me the truth and tell it like it is and this and that. But at what cost?
Yeah.
And my issue is, I don't have a problem with anybody being a Democrat or a Republican. I have a problem with, because I know some cool Republicans, who great people who do the right thing, and we get along great.
Yeah, I know very cool people in both parties and even other parties.
Yeah, all from all walks. My issue is they went into those polling booths, knowing that this man is a racist, and he called in these black ministers. I don't know if you saw that and this is the thing is, I don't have a problem saying it wasn't just white people who voted for him. There were some black ministers who came and they told the churches, don't vote for Hillary. And is Hillary perfect? No, she wasn't perfect. None of the politicians are perfect, but we wouldn't be in this situation we are in now, and they went and they told those congregations, they said, don't vote for a woman and these were like black fundamentalists, and they said if a woman, because if you look at a lot of the scriptures, a woman is not the head of the household. So they say, well, if this woman cannot run or be at the top of her family, why should she be at the top of our country? And this is that type of archaic monolithic thinking that we allow to divide and keep us from doing the right thing. And people went into that polling booth knowing that this man is racist, he's sexist, he's not fit for the job, he's divisive, he's violent, he's probably mentally ill, and they voted for him anyway.
One of my best friend's son, a millennial, conversing about all of this, and he just looked at us and said, this just allows us to see that we really need to take ourselves seriously, and not only wait every 4 years to do what we need to do. And now this group really can't just ride on the tail end of their parents, and because they're going to get affected, and they're getting affected. So it's a whole, like when you're talking about owning it, I think the millennial, also now the Z and Y and generation all.
So much of it.
They actually have to take this matters a bit more seriously in going and voting this November, and then as it shows up.
And not even just voting. And I don't want to be on a soapbox, but it's like, I do comedy and people go, well, it's because I get it. People want me to tell more jokes and stuff when you come to a show for that. I still have to deal with things as a person when I'm not up there. And it's not just waiting every November to vote or every June or whenever you're voting, but it's getting out in your community, even doing little things. Yeah. Knocking on the door, checking on that elderly person that lives next door, reaching out to somebody who lives across the street. Just smiling at somebody sometimes, because just all of that it's missing. And I believe that just little things, because we can't just leave everything up to the politicians, because they're not going to get everything right. I believe that if more of us who have the right idea, who are connected to that whole grassroots movement type of thing, do step up and say, okay, well, I'm going to run for ANC commissioner or whatever, city council, and we can make little changes in our communities, and hopefully, we're always talking about trickling down. We need some stuff to trickle up. We need to start backing these people up in the corner and saying, hey, this is what we need. This is what we need to happen, because we have more power than we think.
How are you doing that? I know you do that in your comedy. I know that you bring these conversations around the world. Around the U.S. I don't know if you actually did go to Germany. So around the world.
I'm international.
Yeah,
I go some places and I'm like, I don't want to go back. It's just certain things. Like, you go certain places and race is not even a question.
Yeah.
I remember. We can talk about marijuana, right? Can we talk about marijuana?
You can talk about
Okay,
anything you
okay,
like.
So
I might talk about it or not, but you can talk about anything you like.
So I was a couple years ago. I was in another country, and we were on the beach, and we were, who doesn't smoke weed? I was smoking a little marijuana, and sometimes you smoke weed and you get a little philosophical. You start feeling real intelligent when you smoke. So I had my bag of chips and a popsicle and a pickle and my fudge brownie. I had the munchies, and I'm sitting there. And we had about 6 or 7 different people there. Someone was Native American. We had someone else there who was white. We had someone else there. I was black. We had a black girl. We had a couple of other people. And race didn't come up one time. And we all kind of noticed it as our conversation had gotten to something where it eventually came up. We'd been there, I think, for 2 or 3 days and had never talked about it. And we said to each other, do you realize we haven't talked about it one time since we've been here? And at that moment, it wasn't anxiety, but I had this moment where I was like, I don't want to go back. Because it's such a small thing to just look at somebody and go, I don't like you because you're black. Or I don't want to be in this room with you because you're white. Like if you really think about it, it doesn't make sense.
I think the weirdest thing was when I got my DNA. Have you done that?
Yes.
Sent in for your DNA?
Yes.
So I had, I thought it was just, pure Iranian and it's an old country, so I thought it was that. So it came up Indo-European, which is obviously the Iran is Indo-European. And then it had 4 types of, different types of Jewish. And then I had also the American, Native American. And I'm like,
really?
Native American? How did I get Native American?
It happened,
And it's amazing. Like, when you said that about the race, I said, when people go and bring their DNA, they're like, they're shocked about all the race we do have inside of us.
Something inside of us. Yeah. I mean, I got mine's done, and I think I had like 2% Jewish was in there.
Yeah.
I have some Scottish is in there, and but I think I'm about 87% African.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty black.
You're pretty black.
I'm pretty black. But
I'm proud of it.
You have to be proud of who you are.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and for me, and I know I sound, to some people might go, he sounds so angry. I am not angry.
I don't find you angry at all.
Oh, some people.
I've met angry people. I really don't experience you as angry.
Well, that's because you're smart. But, some people will hear me talking about race and talking about my experience, again, as a black man, we haven't even gotten to the gay stuff.
Yeah.
And they go, well, why are you so angry? Why do you have to look at it like that? And I'm like, I'm just sharing my experience.
Yeah.
Now, if you are a white person and you are an ally, or you're someone who cares, one thing that you can do is just listen and say, okay, well, if this is what your experience is, how can I make your life a little bit better? How can I accommodate your experience? And one thing that some of our white brothers and sisters need to do is don't just tell your black friends or your gay friends that you're not racist or homophobic. Go back and talk to your racist uncle. Go back and talk to your homophobic grandma about your gay and your lesbian and your black and, other minority friends.
Right. To be able to take a stand for what you believe.
Yes.
And, for everybody else who may not be able to take a stand for themselves, or at least kind of like raise the awareness of acceptance. I've been doing a lot of lectures with different people, obviously, and then I did a lecture with an Iranian lesbian judge, Iranian female lesbian judge, and one of the beautiful conversations she said was, I don't like the word tolerance, because when we talk about tolerance, that means there's something that I'm tolerating, and I don't even want people to accept me as a gay and lesbian, or a woman, or an Iranian, or any of it. I want you to be indifferent about it, because I am one of you. And although we're all different, but I want you to be indifferent when I tell you that I'm lesbian, the same way that you hear another person. And, that's what I want you to be.
indifferent in a not in a, like not being negative about it. It's just, it is. It's like, and it is.
And one of the funny things is, and I'm gonna try to say this the right way, is I am very lucky that I get to go different places, but I go a lot of places as a black gay man in comedy that I know I should not be. And mind you, I was one of the first black gay stand-ups in the country.
Yay.
And I was in Alabama, and I did a show. And I had some redneck folks came, and they laughed just as hard as everybody else. And they met me in the lobby of that casino, and they said, "You are black, and you are an FAGGOT." But you're one funny SOB. Yes. And for a second there, we related to you so much that we were back there like, wait a minute, are we gay? And I was like, well, if you laugh, that makes you gay. I was just messing with them.
Yeah.
But we're all more alike than we are different.
Exactly. Thank you, Sampson. Thank you for coming. Thank you for spending the time to be with me and my listeners and audience. Everyone, if you want to find him and where he is, go to Sampson Comedy.
SampsonComedy.com or Instagram, Sampson McCormick, SampsonMcCormick. So that's like McCormick, like the spices. And even if you don't do any of that, I just want you all to love yourselves and love each other and just have conversations.
Beautiful. Go to our podcast in iTunes, Inner Voice with Dr. Foojan Zeine. And thank you for listening with your heart. Thank you for being with us. And until next week, create an amazing world for yourself and everyone around you. Bye-bye.
You're listening to The Inner Voice with Dr. Foojan Zeine, only on LA Talk Radio.